We saw Mark Martin, NASCAR Hall of Famer, on Twitter X call him a class act for that interview. Is this a humble and mature Pato O'Ward we'll see going forward?
Yeah, it really seems like Pato O'Ward has matured a lot, and especially in his racecraft. That's where I've seen a lot of his maturity. I know in the last few years, we've been talking about Pato all month, especially on our practice shows, of how Pato, he's been close to winning this race before, but unfortunately, just hasn't worked out for him. And I'm starting to ask myself, what does Pato O'Ward have to do to finally win the Indianapolis 500? And like you say, Joe, looking at his expression yesterday, you could see how much this meant to him. He really, really wanted to win this race, and I believe he thought he had it made, but unfortunately, Joseph Newgarden just had that bigger run and got around him. Maybe Pato made his moves too soon. Maybe he should have hung behind Newgarden, going down the backstretch to try to get the slingshot around him on heading into turn 3. But then again, you don't know what's going to happen behind you. For all we know, Pato could have stayed behind Newgarden. Then the caution come out. Then the race could have been over. So I guess he felt like he had to make the move then. But as we're seeing, in the recent Indy 500s, the last move typically comes down the backstretch heading into turn 3, and then the driver behind usually can't get back to him. But it was a super unfortunate circumstance for him. I thought Pato was finally going to win the race, and he did too, and looked like he was very emotional. Looked like he had tears in his eyes as well. So many people on his team consoled him, let him know it's going to be all right. And I believe at some point Pato O'Ward is finally going to get his Indy 500 victory. I think it's only a matter of time, but before it happens, because he's already been too close, from battling Marcus Ericsson and lifting to battling Ericsson again the following year, and crashing out of the race, being too aggressive. He's had that Indy 500 win in sight. I think it's just a matter of when he gets it, not a matter of if.
I don't think you can blame a driver within the last few laps or so for making the move when you have the opportunity. I remember in 2015, I thought for sure Montoya had made his move on his teammate Will Power at the time at Penske too early, because I think he made it with like 4 laps to go or something. I thought for sure that at some point Power was going to have a run to get back around him again. Obviously, that didn't happen, and Montoya won his second 500 in 2015. I think back a few years earlier, I think Scott Goodyear was in the ABC booth saying Takuma Sato should have waited and made the pass going into turn 3, which is what Newgarden did this year, not tried what Pato O'Ward did this year and make it going into turn 1, although O'Ward got a stronger run and made the pass by the start-finish line. So maybe not quite the exact situation there. But the point being, I think, when Kobe, to your point about a caution coming out, you never know when the race might be over in those closing laps. You never know when you might get another run like that to make your move. I think you have to take it. I think Rossi did something similar on Pagenaud in the closing laps, and knowing that the Hondas were a little bit down on horsepower that year to the Chevys, he had an opportunity with a few laps to go, and he took it because he didn't know if it was going to come again, and ultimately Pagenaud got him back. But that's just the nature of how this race is nowadays, how powerful that slipstream is. I think you can't blame Pato O'Ward for making the move when he did. I know some people are going to say, maybe he should have backed off and tried to get a run coming out of 2 again. But, again, maybe Newgarden would have tucked right back in and beat him to the line. I mean, you just never know how this race is going to play out. Very bittersweet day for McLaren, on all fronts. You had Alexander Rossi. I don't know. Did Rossi run out of fuel? Because I was shocked that Dixon had passed him. I thought he had a pretty good gap in 3rd place coming to the line, but Dixon obviously got him, and Rossi fell back to 4th. And I know he was frustrated, but he had to go into fuel conservation mode. Obviously, Kyle Larson had the speeding penalty. Callum Ilott, his race was thrown a wrench into his plans even at the start of the race, just trying to get off the grid. And then obviously Pato O'Ward, coming up just 1 spot short. But, Mark Martin said it all. An absolute class act, a great interview on his part. And Kobe, in total agreement with you. Like I said in our chat yesterday, I'm reminded of when Tony Kanaan crashed out and took out Sarah Fisher in 2008, and Marty Reed said, "I'm telling you, that guy one day is going to win this race." That's how I feel about Pato O'Ward right now. I think it's just a matter of time. You give him a few more years. He keeps driving like this, being at the front at the end. He's going to win this race one day.
I believe it took Joseph Newgarden 11 years to win the Indy 500. So
11 or 12, I think. Yeah.
A long time. Pato O'Ward. I know there's some drivers that have come close and they never again able to get that win. Pato has done this more than once. I'm confident, unless the McLaren team just absolutely drops the ball in the future years. But the way they are, I think that he could easily be an Indy 500 champ one of these years. Behind him, the camera shot of Pato on pit road with his helmet on his shoulders, slumped, and his head down in his arms will be forever and ever used by networks and social media. The power of Indianapolis, and it did take Newgarden 12 years to get the first, 12 months to get his second.
I think it took Tony Kanaan 12 years to get his first as well. So
another driver,
yeah, that's just the nature of this race. Sometimes, you know, you can be one of the best drivers in the grid. Sometimes it takes you a long time to break through. But, you know, again, to Kobe's point, you know, I think Newgarden's gotten over that initial hump. I think Newgarden could get to 4 now easily. You know, he's overcome that initial hump and, you know, has gone back to back now. But who knows? You know, Pato O'Ward, I think, is going to have at least one of his own 2 one day. But, you know, I thought the same about J.R. Hildebrand after he came so close his rookie year, and he's still in pursuit of his first. I hope he gets a ride to come back next year, because I think he certainly deserves it. But yeah, I mean, it's just, again, it's the emotions of Indianapolis. It goes both ways, from the highest of highs for the winner to the lowest of lows, and so bittersweet for O'Ward coming so close in second.
Yeah, and this was just O'Ward's 5th Indianapolis 500 that he's competed in. So he still has many more ahead of him. Hopefully it won't take as long as 11, 12 Indy 500s to get it done, but I think he's definitely going to be in the mix for the next handful of years to come.